Okay, let's unpack this. You sent over a really interesting set of sources, all focusing on one specific bit of gear, the MXR M303 clone looper. Seems like it hits a sweet spot.
Oh, definitely. It's kind of wolf in sheep's clothing, you know. A standard pedal size, but packing a lot inside. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. Let's quickly get to the heart of what it does, its technical strengths, and maybe the creative doors it opens.
Yeah, and it's not just any looper. The sources mentioned this was MXR's first, major dedicated looper pedal, right? Around 2019.
Exactly. That timing's important. It shows they weren't just testing the waters, they were jumping in properly.
Yeah.
Trying to compete seriously in that market.
So they aimed high from the start. Features like time stretching, reverse, stuff you usually see on bigger units.
Precisely. But the trick, and I think this is why it landed so well, was getting all that functionality into that familiar standard pedal size. It's that blend of power and practicality.
Okay, let's start with the basics then. Its core identity. You called it a power paradox in the notes: unlimited layers, high fidelity, tiny box. How does that actually work?
Right. So the unlimited layers part needs a bit of clarification from the sources. You can stack overdubs endlessly, layer after layer. There's no artificial limit of 8 or 16 layers.
Okay.
It's all happening within a fixed amount of recording time. And for the M303, that's up to 6 minutes at its highest fidelity setting.
Okay. So infinite layers within a 6-minute window. That makes more sense. 6 minutes. Is that enough? Some ambient stuff goes on way longer.
It's a fair point. And yeah, for some super long-form ambient pieces, it might be tight, a definite trade-off for the size.
Yeah.
But honestly, for most songs, practice, songwriting sketches, 6 minutes is actually quite a lot of time.
True. Okay, let's get into the tech side then, because the sources really emphasize the sound quality. Something about 88.2 kilohertz capture.
Yes, and that is a key differentiator. 88.2 kilohertz internal sampling rate.
Why should, the average guitarist plugging this in care about that specific number? 88.2 kilohertz.
It matters a lot, especially if you're using effects, particularly high gain distortion or complex modulations. See, when a looper converts your analog guitar signal to digital, if the sample rate is too low, you can run into problems. The main one is called aliasing.
Aliasing. What does that actually sound like? Is it noticeable?
Oh, it can be really noticeable and frankly pretty nasty. It often shows up as weird, high-frequency digital artifacts like little chirps or a kind of brittle, glassy edge on your tone, or sometimes just unwanted harmonic distortion that makes your original sound feel thin or fizzy when looped.
Right, like it doesn't quite capture the warmth or the body, especially with distortion.
Exactly. So that higher 88.2 kilohertz rate in the M303 means it captures much more detail, especially in the complex harmonics of distorted or heavily affected signals. It helps avoid that aliasing so your loops sound closer to your actual live tone, keeps those big saturated sounds feeling big.
Okay, that's a pretty compelling technical point then. It's about preserving the integrity of your sound in the loop.
And they didn't stop there. With tone preservation, the sources also highlight the analog through path.
Analog through path. Break that down for us. What's the benefit for someone using it?
It's super simple, but really important. It means your dry signal, the guitar sound you're playing live right now, through the pedal, it never actually gets converted into digital and back again.
So it bypasses all the digital looping circuitry.
Pretty much. It stays purely analog all the way through. This keeps your core tone completely untouched, avoids any latency on your live signal, and just ensures maximum purity for the sound you're playing over the loop.
Got it. So the loop itself is digital, playback is digital, but my live playing is pure analog. Tone purists will love that.
Definitely. And they added another practical touch for integration, that little switch for true or buffered bypass.
Right, I saw that. Why offer both? Why not just pick one?
It's all about where this pedal sits in your chain. If you've got a monster pedal board, tons of pedals, long cables.
Yeah, signal loss becomes a thing.
Exactly. All that cable length starts to suck away your high-end frequencies. That's where buffered bypass helps. The buffer is like a tiny, clean signal booster that drives your signal strongly through the rest of the chain, preserving those highs.
Okay, so buffer for big boards and true bypass.
True bypass is for the purists or for smaller boards where signal loss isn't really an issue. When the pedal is off, it's completely removed from the signal path, totally transparent. Giving you the choice just lets you optimize it for your specific setup. It's smart design.
Shows they were thinking about real-world use cases.
Yeah.
Okay, so the tech sounds solid, the tone preservation is there, but how does it feel to actually use it, especially live? Let's talk workflow.
Right, segment 2. Creative flexibility and workflow. This is where the M303 really makes a case for itself against simpler loopers. The key is the 2-foot switch layout.
Yeah, dedicated residue and place de punto switches. That seems way more intuitive than those single button loopers where you're doing like double taps and long presses.
Oh, absolutely. Trying to remember complex foot commands in the middle of a song is stressful. This is much more direct. Record, stop, overdub, play. It's clear. And that you need O function, just holding down play stop, that's huge.
For fixing mistakes on the fly.
Exactly. Mess up the last overdub, hold the switch, it's gone. It gives you confidence to experiment and layer without fear of messing up the whole loop irreversibly. It's a safety net.
Makes sense. Now, the sources mentioned something interesting about the main volume knob. It does more than just volume.
Yes. Yeah, this is kind of the secret weapon stuff.
Yeah.
That volume knob has push, click, and press and hold functions that unlock some really cool creative options.
Okay, like what?
So a quick push or click cycles through speed changes, half speed and double speed.
Half speed, what does that actually do to the sound?
It plays the loop back at half the original tempo, which also drops the pitch by a full octave. It's great for turning, say, a normal guitar line into a deep, bassy texture or a slow, atmospheric pad.
Sounds cool for ambient stuff, but I think I read something else about half speed.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Yeah.
The really clever bit, because it's playing back data at half the rate it was recorded, or recording at half the intended playback speed, engaging half speed before you record effectively doubles your available recording time.
Wait, hang on. So that 6-minute limit, if I record my loop while the pedal is set to half speed mode, I get 12 minutes of actual recording buffer.
You got it. It requires you to think ahead. You'll be recording things slower. But yes, it essentially turns it into a 12-minute looper if you plan for it. It's a fantastic workaround for capturing longer pieces.
Wow, okay, that is a secret weapon feature. That changes the calculation on the time limit quite a bit. And double speed?
Does the opposite. Plays the loop back twice as fast, raises the pitch by an octave. Good for, frantic textures, rhythmic complexity, maybe getting that sort of chipmunk effect if you want it. More experimental.
And there was one more volume knob trick, wasn't there?
Yep. Press and hold the volume knob, and it engages loop reverse.
Instant reverse. That's a classic effect.
Yeah, really useful for creating those backward masking sounds, unsettling textures, or just flipping a phrase for dramatic effect.
Yeah.
You can capture something, reverse it, overdub on the reverse part. Opens up a lot of sonic territory.
Okay, so quite a lot packed into that one knob. Given all these features, it probably needs to connect to other things too, external control.
It does. They included options for that. There's a CTR jack, control jack for a standard external tap tempo foot switch.
Tap tempo for the loop speed? Or does it control other things?
Primarily for setting loop tempo easily with your foot, but it can also be used to trigger the speed or direction changes hands-free, which is great live.
Nice. And there's an expression pedal jack too, EXP.
Yes, the EXP jack. The most obvious use is controlling the loop's output volume with an expression pedal, for doing swells or fading the loop in and out dynamically under your live playing.
Standard expression pedal stuff. Useful. But the sources mention another mode for that jack, play once.
Right. Play once mode is interesting. It changes the looper's behavior. Instead of continuously cycling, the loop will play back just one time when you trigger it, usually via the expression pedal's toe switch, if it has one, or just by triggering the play function.
So it becomes like a sampler, a one-shot trigger?
Exactly. You could preload a specific sound effect, a chord stab, a weird texture, whatever, and then fire it off precisely once during a performance, rather than having it loop constantly as another layer of utility.
That really broadens its scope beyond just traditional looping. It makes it more of a performance tool.
Totally. All these control options show it's built for more than just practicing at home. It's designed to integrate into a working musician setup.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Segment 3. Use cases, placement, and the inevitable trade-offs. The sources painted a picture of this being used everywhere: practice solo gigs, songwriting, even in the studio.
Yeah, it's versatile. And remember that analog through path we talked about, where you place the M303 in your signal chain, becomes a really important creative decision because of that.
Right. Why does placement matter so much?
Well, think about it. If you put the looper after all your drive pedals, your delays, your reverbs,
then all those effects get recorded in the loop, right?
Exactly. The loop captures the fully affected sound. Each overdub gets that same processed sound baked in. It's like printing effects to tape in the studio.
Okay, so that's one way. What's the alternative?
Put the looper before your modulation and time-based effects, so maybe after your drives, but before delay, reverb, chorus, phaser, etc.
So the loop itself is recorded relatively dry, or maybe just with drive.
Right. The loop itself is cleaner. The big advantage here is that you can then apply your delay, reverb, or modulation to the loop playback in real time and change those effects dynamically without affecting the original loop recording.
Ah, I see. So I could have a simple chord loop running, then decide to wash it in reverb for a section, then pull the reverb back off, all while the core loop stays the same.
Precisely. It gives you much more dynamic control over how the loop interacts with your live playing and effects during a performance. Much more flexible than having the effects permanently baked in.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, placement is key. Now let's be balanced. No pedal is perfect. What are the main pros and cons that came up consistently in the sources?
The biggest pros, universally praised, are the sound quality, that high-fidelity capture we discussed, and the sheer amount of creative flexibility packed into that small size. The speed changes, the reverse. Those are powerful tools.
Makes sense. On the con side, that 6-minute loop time limit has to be mentioned again, even with the half-speed trick.
Yeah, for some users doing really extended ambient work or those wanting multiple separate song sections stored, that 6 minutes, or even 12 with the trick, might feel limiting compared to dedicated loop stations with SD cards and tons of memory slots. It's a trade-off for the footprint and price point.
And it doesn't have built-in drum beats or anything like that?
No, it's purely a looper. It doesn't have rhythm tracks for practice like some other pedals do. It's focused entirely on capturing and manipulating your audio. It's a creative tool, not really a practice companion in that sense.
Gotcha. And the last point, which seemed, well, potentially significant, was about reliability. Some users reported issues.
Yes, this is important to address. The sources did mention reports of data corruption, meaning stored loops or settings getting scrambled, specifically if the pedal was left powered on continuously for very long periods, like weeks.
Okay, that sounds worrying. Is it a design flaw?
It's hard to say definitively if it's a flaw versus an operational sensitivity. It seems related to how its memory handles being constantly powered. It doesn't seem to happen with normal use, powering it on and off with your board.
So the practical advice for someone using this, especially if it's on a board that stays powered up.
Treat it a bit like a computer, maybe. Don't leave it powered on 24/7 indefinitely if you rely on stored loops. Power cycling your board regularly, or at least backing up anything critical if possible, though direct export isn't a feature, seems like the prudent approach. Just be mindful of that potential issue with long-term continuous power.
Right. Good to know. A potential quirk to manage. Okay, let's try and synthesize all this as we wrap up.
Sure. I think what's really fascinating about the M303, based on everything we've looked at, is how it manages to bridge that gap. It offers serious high-quality looping features, the fidelity, the layers, the speed reverse stuff, but without the complexity or the intimidating size of the big loop stations. It hits a sweet spot.
So for the musician listening, what's the bottom line? What does the M303 represent?
It basically means you can get professional-level looping capability with really good sound quality that slots right onto a standard pedal board without forcing you to completely rearrange everything. It delivers a lot of power for its size. Maximum loop for your buck, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. Feature density in a small package.
Exactly. It's about getting those core creative looping tools without unnecessary bloat.
Okay, great summary. And finally, let's leave our listener with a provocative thought, something to chew on based on the sources.
All right. We talked about that half-speed function, doubling the record time to 12 minutes.
Yeah, the cheat code.
So here's the challenge. Think about deliberately using that. Record a full 6 minutes in half-speed mode, crafting maybe a complex, evolving ambient piece. Now you have a 12-minute audio file sitting in the buffer. Then use the EXP-JAX Play Once mode to trigger that entire 12-minute soundscape just once maybe, as an incredibly long, detailed intro or outro to a song. You'd be pushing that time limit workaround to its absolute maximum creative potential.
Using the limitation and the workaround for the limitation as a compositional tool itself. That's definitely something to think about.